Marco, thanks very much for joining us. Big focus on science and technology, particularly in the market at the moment. Looking at the Italian market, where do you see that at the moment? And I suppose, what are the prospects for growth?
Science and tech cluster is an alternative asset class in the real estate market in this moment that is considered a niche, even if the interest from institutional investors raised a lot during the years now is placed in the second position among the most interesting asset class among European institutional investors, and has an average annual increase of 23% in terms of turnover of investments. This is unfortunately more for the say Europe outside Italy than inside Italy, even if Italy and Milan above all is considered a cluster for science and tech. Actually, we have the first project that are ongoing in our country, based in Milan, and Italy has strong fundamentals to attract science and tech company, as is already happening. And of course, what we are now discussing about niche or an alternative asset class will become in the next 5 or 10 years one of the main asset class, together with residential, office and commercial, as happens for logistics a few years ago. As said, Italy has strong fundamentals. North of Italy has strong infrastructure that are the most important for science and tech, have a lot of facilities and the possibility to convert entire business park into science and tech business campus. And last but not least, we have a lot of science and pharmaceutical companies that are putting here their headquarters. So is for several reasons related to the possibility in our country to implement their headquarters.
Marco, is this a strategy for Garbe across Europe? And I suppose, how does Italy compare to some of the other European countries? Do you feel it's at an earlier stage? What's your sense of that?
I think if we consider that anyway, science and tech is an emerging asset class, even in the most mature countries, probably only in UK is almost mature. We can say that we are quite far from Germany or Netherlands, for example, where we have a very important cluster in terms of science and tech campus. And we are really at the beginning of our history. But this is, I would say, is typical for the Italian market. It happens the same for the institutional office market. It happens the same for the logistics. It's happening the same for the residential that started 2-3 years ago, just before COVID pandemic. And I think it's the same that is for science and tech, that we are like 5-10 years behind the rest of Europe.
Yeah, it's been really interesting to see how science, technology, life sciences have really, been a huge part of the US market and are now moving over to Europe, and interesting to see how that develops in Italy. Thanks very much, Marco.
Welcome.